ever looked at your home and wondered how much beauty is still hidden in the things you already own? Today on Home Crafted, we're diving into DIY interiors, where simple ideas can transform an ordinary space into something unforgettable. This video has timestamps so you can jump right to what you need. And if a question comes up, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And before we begin, maybe to you, I'm just another voice on a screen. But behind this channel, there's a real story, and a small family chasing a dream. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it's more than numbers. It's hope. It keeps this little dream alive, one click at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. Step into a garden where creativity blossoms in the most unexpected forms. Old tires, once forgotten and left behind, return here with new life, reshaped into sculptures that spark joy and wonder. At first glance, they don't even feel like tires anymore. They become playful flowers, gentle curves of abstract shapes, and borders that glow with personality. This is what happens when imagination and sustainability meet. Picture a corner of your garden where a stack of painted tires blooms into a layered flower display. With a few strokes of bright paint and some patience, each layer becomes a petal, creating a cheerful centerpiece that feels alive even without water or soil. The beauty of this idea is its simplicity. You don't need professional tools, only a brush, vibrant colors, and an afternoon of play. Elsewhere, a winding tire snake dances along the edge of a pathway. Its bold stripes in rainbow hues make the garden feel more welcoming, almost like it's whispering to children and visitors, "Come closer, explore, enjoy the colors of life." The playful design not only recycles waste but also transforms the atmosphere of your space into something magical. For those who love a touch of sculpture, imagine carving and cutting old tires into lotus-like layers, placing them near a pond or a quiet corner. Add a splash of color, or keep them in natural black for a more earthy tone. Combined with stones or plants, the design feels balanced, modern yet organic. The secret lies in embracing imperfection. Tires already carry marks of their past journeys, and when painted or reshaped, those marks become textures of authenticity. That's what makes each sculpture unique, your personal handprint on recycled art. If you try it at home, keep in mind a few gentle tips. Choose non-toxic paints that can withstand weather, so the colors stay vibrant through rain and sun. Arrange tires in layers or chains, depending on the mood you want, vertical for sculptures, horizontal for borders. And don't rush the process. Let it unfold slowly, like planting seeds of creativity. In the end, what you create isn't just decoration. It's a story of renewal. A reminder that beauty doesn't always come from new things. It can be reborn from what we thought had no value. When you sit in your garden, looking at these funky sculptures, you'll feel a quiet pride. You gave life back to something forgotten, and in return, it gave you art. There's a certain magic that happens when sunlight falls across a garden, and in the corner, you notice something unexpected: sculptures made not from stone or wood, but from old tires. Their curves, once destined only for the road, now bloom with a new identity, art that feels both playful and grounding. The transformation begins simply. A stack of tires, brushed clean, becomes a canvas for color. Paint them in soft pastels for a calming mood, or bold primaries if you want the garden to pulse with energy. Place them as layered towers, and suddenly they resemble flowers that never fade. Add a pot of greenery or blooms in the center, and the sculpture becomes both functional and beautiful, breathing life into what was once discarded. Some artists of the everyday carve and bend tires into shapes that surprise the eye, curves of a snake winding through the garden path, or petals that unfold like a lotus by the pond. These forms don't just decorate the space, they tell a story of creativity born from limitation, of joy sparked from resourcefulness. If you're tempted to try, start small. One tire, one brush, and one corner of your garden is enough. Coat it with weather-resistant paint so the colors hold against the rain and sun. Stack or arrange them to fit the rhythm of your space. The beauty lies not in perfection but in the personal touch you leave on it, your brush strokes, your choice of hues, your hand placing it exactly where it feels right. And as the day moves, notice how the sculptures change. Morning light makes them glow softly, while evening shadows add depth and character. The garden begins to feel more like an art gallery under the open sky, where every piece carries a whisper of your imagination. This is the heart of upcycling. It's not only about saving materials, but about creating a world where nothing is wasted, and beauty is found in the overlooked. When visitors step into your garden and smile at the sight of these funky sculptures, you'll know it wasn't just decoration you built, but a little piece of wonder. In every garden, there is space not only for plants but for imagination. Look closer, and you may discover that the most surprising sculptures are born from the humblest materials. Tires, once worn thin by endless roads, now stand tall as guardians of creativity, reshaped into art that feels both playful and deeply personal. Some become bursts of color, painted in vivid reds, blues, or yellows, placed in layers to resemble giant blossoms, cheerful even on cloudy days. Others remain grounded in earthy tones, blending naturally with wood, stone, and greenery. The joy lies in how easily they adapt, stacked high for bold sculptures, cut into flowing shapes for borders, or even transformed into cozy planters that cradle herbs and flowers. The process is gentler than you might think. With a bit of soap and water, a brush of paint, and patience, a discarded tire becomes a new companion in your garden. If you carve it, patterns of petals or waves emerge. If you stack it, height and presence are created. And if you simply leave it as is, its circular form already whispers balance and harmony. What makes these sculptures special isn't just their beauty, it's the meaning they carry. They remind us that renewal is possible, that what seems at the end of its journey can find a second life. They are conversation starters, memory holders, and silent storytellers under the open sky. When you create your own, don't worry about perfection. Instead, enjoy the slowness of the act. The stroke of a brush on rubber, the decision of where to place it, the way sunlight catches its new colors. This is art you can touch, live with, and smile at every day. And perhaps that is the quiet gift of upcycling, to realize that beauty is not something you buy, but something you make, by giving love to what others overlook. In that way, your garden becomes more than just a place of plants. It becomes a gallery of your imagination. minimalist living room often celebrates simplicity. But step outside, and you may discover a very different expression of design, one that thrives on playfulness, bold shapes, and unexpected materials. Old tires, usually cast aside, become sculptural accents for a garden that feels alive with imagination. Imagine the clean lines of your indoor furniture reflected outdoors, yet reinterpreted through upcycled art. A tire stacked and painted white can mirror the purity of your sofa, turning into a planter that holds bright green herbs. Another, brushed in earthy tones, may echo the softness of your wooden side table, blending naturally into the garden floor. In this way, the balance between indoors and outdoors feels seamless. What's beautiful about tire sculptures is their adaptability. They can be playful, cut into wave-like shapes or curved to resemble petals, or they can be minimalist, left whole and painted in neutral tones that match a calm and modern garden style. The choice of design depends on the mood you want your outdoor space to carry, serene and subtle, or vibrant and bold. To bring your own sculpture to life, start with what you already have. Clean the tire thoroughly, allow it to dry, and choose paints that can weather sun and rain. If you prefer structure, stack them in geometric patterns, much like arranging furniture. If you long for something more organic, carve gentle shapes and place them among plants, where shadows and sunlight will transform them throughout the day. And when you sit back, watching the way light falls across your living room and then into the garden, you'll notice how the two spaces begin to speak to each other. One is quiet and restrained, the other expressive and free. Together, they tell a story. Design does not end at the threshold of a door. It flows outward, carried on imagination, crafted by your own hands. When you step into a garden, there's something magical about discovering beauty where the world saw nothing but waste. Old tires, once forgotten and weathered, find a second life as sculptures that carry both charm and meaning. They stand not only as art but as gentle reminders of how creativity can turn the ordinary into something unforgettable. Imagine transforming a stack of tires into playful creatures resting beneath the shade of your trees. With a splash of bright paint, a little carving, and a touch of imagination, the rough black rubber becomes vibrant forms, flowers, animals, or even whimsical patterns that make children pause and smile. Each creation whispers a story of renewal, of turning what was destined for the landfill into something that sparks joy. practicality joins the poetry here. Tires are resilient, weather-resistant, and surprisingly versatile. You can cut, stack, or weave them together, shaping everything from sculpted flower towers to quirky garden borders. With basic tools, a sharp utility knife, some outdoor-friendly paint, and a steady hand, you'll find that what once seemed like waste now bends easily to your vision. And there's something deeply grounding in the process. Working with your hands, adding layers of color, planting greenery around your sculpture, suddenly, your garden becomes more than just soil and leaves. It becomes a gallery of stories, each tire carrying a memory of what it once was, now transformed into art you've given a soul. These creations don't just decorate your garden, they invite people in. Guests will linger, children will ask questions, and neighbors might be inspired to try their own. That's the quiet beauty of upcycling. It spreads, reminding us all that even the simplest discarded thing can be reborn with imagination and care. So the next time you see a stack of worn tires by the roadside, don't just pass them by. Picture instead the possibilities, funky sculptures that breathe laughter, color, and warmth into your outdoor space. In giving them new life, you'll find yourself creating not just art, but a sanctuary of creativity and renewal right in your garden. Imagine stepping into a room where simplicity meets quiet brilliance. At first glance, it feels calm, minimal furniture, soft daylight slipping through tall windows, and muted tones that whisper elegance. But then you notice the hidden magic. The television blends into the wall like a shadow, speakers vanish into the ceiling, and even the cables seem to dissolve into the architecture. Everything you need is there, yet nothing screams for attention. This is the beauty of hidden design. It's about crafting a space that works for you, not against you. And just like turning old tires into garden sculptures, it teaches us that the best creations are often born from creativity disguised as simplicity. You don't need excess to live beautifully. You need cleverness, care, and the willingness to see beyond the obvious. Think of a coffee table that is more than just a surface. It can store books, tools, or a set of handmade coasters you crafted yourself. Or a sofa that isn't only a seat, but also a bed, or even a hidden chest for blankets. These are not just furniture pieces, but little reminders that every object can live multiple lives. And this idea translates perfectly outdoors too. When you look at an old tire, don't just see rubber, see a blooming flower sculpture, a playful snake edging your garden path, or even a whimsical chair for your patio. Just as hidden tech makes your living room serene yet functional, upcycled art makes your garden vibrant yet sustainable. What matters most is the feeling, spaces that invite you to breathe deeply, to rest, to feel that harmony between what is seen and what is hidden. A smart home, much like a funky garden sculpture, is about giving shape to imagination while keeping clutter and waste at bay. So the next time you think of redesigning your living room, or stepping into your garden, ask yourself, how can I let beauty serve function, and function hide gracefully within beauty? That's where the magic begins. Step into a space where design meets imagination, where light itself feels like an artist painting warmth across every corner. Look closely, and you'll notice how layers of illumination echo the same creativity that goes into turning something ordinary, like an old tire, into an extraordinary sculpture for the garden. Just as a living room comes alive when daylight, wall sconces, and a glowing table lamp weave together, your garden too can transform when recycled tires are stacked, carved, and painted with care. A simple tire, cut into petals and layered like a chandelier above a coffee table, suddenly becomes a blooming lotus resting in your backyard. It is all about balance, light against shadow, color against texture, and nature against the industrial past of rubber. Think of the tire not as waste but as potential. Its curves are like the lines of a pendant lamp, its durability a promise that your creation will stand through the seasons. Paint them in soft tones to echo the warm glow of indoor lamps, or go bold with radiant hues that capture attention, like a chandelier sparkling above a cozy seating area. And here's a small tip to bring the idea to life. If you're layering tires to build a garden sculpture, secure them with strong adhesive or hidden rods, much like the invisible wiring that keeps a room's lighting seamless. For a softer touch, add plants to the hollow centers, cascading vines or small flowers spilling out as though the sculpture itself breathes with life. When you step back, your garden won't just hold a recycled sculpture. It will hold a story, one of transformation, creativity, and light, both literal and metaphorical. Just like these living rooms shine with thoughtful design, your outdoor space too can glow with the charm of upcycled beauty. calming about bringing old, forgotten objects back to life. Imagine an ordinary tire, once worn down by miles of asphalt, now finding its second story beneath the sunlight of your garden. It no longer carries the weight of cars, but instead blossoms into art, a sculpture that feels alive, playful, and meaningful. In these modern living spaces, you see how wood, stone, and woven textures bring warmth and harmony. The same principle can flow into your garden. Just as natural light softens the corners of a room, upcycled tires can soften the edges of your outdoor world. By layering paint in earthy hues or bold patterns, you can create sculptures that echo the natural beauty of clay vases, or even mimic the rugged strength of a stone wall. Picture a garden where a tire becomes a vibrant planter stacked like a tiered fountain, or shaped into a creature that seems to watch over the flowers. The secret lies not in perfection, but in imagination. Old rubber bends easily under your hand, allowing you to cut, fold, and stitch pieces into forms you'd never expect. Add a touch of color, soft whites for a minimal look, bright reds and blues for a funky splash, and your garden gains a character that feels both modern and timeless. The beauty of these sculptures is how they balance contrasts. A rough, black tire suddenly becomes delicate when filled with trailing plants. A stack of painted rings can mirror the rhythm of ceramic pots by your window. The interplay feels almost like interior design carried outdoors, a place where nature and craft share the same gentle language. And perhaps that is the real gift of upcycling, not just saving money or reducing waste, but slowing down to see potential where others see nothing. With each sculpture you create, you add a layer of story to your garden, just as sunlight adds warmth to a quiet living room. So let your hands play, let your mind wander. The next time you see an old tire, don't think of the road it's left behind. Think of the garden it could belong to, the colors it could carry, the joy it might spark. In every garden, there is a quiet story waiting to be told. Some are written in flowers, others in stones, and sometimes, in something as unexpected as an old, forgotten tire. With a touch of imagination, what once rolled down the road can stand tall in your garden as art, sculpture, or even a whimsical centerpiece. Picture it, a space as calm and uncluttered as a minimalist living room. Clean walls, gentle light, and a single piece of art commanding the room. Now imagine carrying that same energy outdoors, but instead of canvas or paint, you're sculpting with rubber. A single tire, painted in bold monochrome, becomes your abstract wall art for the garden. Place it against a whitewashed fence, let vines curl through its circle, and suddenly you've created something that feels modern yet organic. In another scene, think of the stillness of a photograph, a calm lake, a silent horizon, captured above a sofa. Tires can give you the same poetry, but in 3 dimensions. Stack 2 or 3, cut in graceful curves, and coat them in a soft neutral shade. They can frame a quiet corner of your yard, offering a seat, a planter, or simply a pause for the eyes. The beauty lies in the restraint, nothing overdone, just enough to invite wonder. Or perhaps, your taste leans toward playful lines, like minimalist sketches hung on a wall. You can mimic this simplicity in your garden too. Slice old tires into flowing shapes, arrange them upright, and let their silhouettes create movement against a backdrop of greenery. A sculpture doesn't need to shout to be noticed. Sometimes it whispers with quiet confidence, just like those delicate ink drawings. The key to making these funky sculptures feel elegant is balance. Choose a color palette that speaks softly, black, white, grays, or earthy tones, then let plants, sunlight, and shadows do the rest. The texture of rubber, when shaped with care, blends surprisingly well with stone paths, wooden decks, or gravel beds. Upcycling is not only about saving money or reducing waste, it's about creating beauty where no one expected it. Every tire you transform becomes a statement that art is not reserved for galleries, but belongs in your daily life, in your garden, right where you sip your tea or welcome a friend. So next time you see an abandoned tire, don't think of it as scrap. Think of it as a frame, a brushstroke, a sculpture waiting to be born. Imagine stepping into a living room bathed in soft daylight. The plants rise like living sculptures, some tall, some small, each adding rhythm and calm to the space. Now picture carrying this same feeling into your garden, but instead of store-bought pots, you use something unexpected, old tires. With a little imagination, what was once just rubber waste becomes a stage for creativity. Stacked tires can be painted in earthy tones or vibrant shades, transforming into bold planters that hold your favorite greenery. Much like the fiddle leaf fig glowing in the corner of a modern home, a tire-turned planter can give presence and height to your garden design. Think of the succulents on floating shelves in the second image. Small cacti, aloe, and tiny rubber plants each have their place, yet how much warmer would it feel if you framed them inside a half-cut tire painted in white or soft terracotta? Tires lend curves and texture, offering a rustic charm that feels handcrafted and personal. And in the simplicity of the cream-colored sectional room, where snake plants and monstera are arranged neatly near the window, we are reminded of the beauty of structure. Tires, when cut and layered, can mimic that sense of order. You can create tiered plant displays, a cascading sculpture where greenery grows at different heights, just as they do in nature. The secret is to see tires not as discarded material, but as a foundation. Wash them clean, cut with care, and seal them with outdoor paint to protect against weather. Drill a few drainage holes, fill with soil, and you'll have planters that last for years, sturdy and full of character. And the beauty is that each tire project tells your story. Some may prefer bold rainbow colors to brighten a dull corner. Others may choose calm neutrals, blending with stone and wood for a more minimalist look. Just as indoor plants bring life to a quiet home, these tire sculptures bring art and vitality into the open air. In the end, it's not just about saving waste from the landfill, it's about shaping a space that feels alive, warm, and uniquely yours. Every painted curve, every sprout that grows within, becomes a gentle reminder. Beauty often begins where others stop looking. Imagine stepping into a living room where every detail tells a quiet story. The softness of throws draped over the sofa, the warmth of earthy pillows, the glow of sunlight dancing through curtains. Now, picture that same harmony carried out into your garden, where forgotten tires are reborn as sculptures that feel just as inviting, just as personal. Upcycling tires into art is much like styling a room. You take something ordinary, something overlooked, and breathe life into it with texture, color, and imagination. Just as a simple knit blanket softens the sharp lines of a couch, a painted tire, carved or layered, can transform a corner of your garden into a whimsical retreat. Think of how a candle's warm flame changes the mood of a space. In the same way, cutting tire strips into flowing shapes can mimic petals, leaves, or waves, bringing a gentle rhythm to your outdoor sanctuary. You don't need elaborate tools, a bit of paint, some creativity, and the courage to play with form are often enough. Place them under a tree, beside a pathway, or let vines weave through them, and soon your sculpture feels as though it has always belonged there. And just as fresh flowers on a coffee table awaken a living room, you can pair your tire sculptures with potted greenery, gravel, or even small fairy lights, allowing day and night to tell different versions of the same story. The garden, like your home, becomes layered with warmth, depth, and a quiet joy that grows each time you step outside. Upcycled tire art is not about perfection, it's about presence. about letting your hands shape something humble into something loved. And in that act, you'll find that your garden, much like the coziest corner of your living room, becomes a reflection of who you are, creative, resourceful, and quietly poetic.